We should do it.
Molly Morrow.
Yeah. You could put it on your.
Good evening. Welcome to the Ellensburg City Council meeting of Tuesday, September 5th. It is 7 p.m. And would you all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilmember Monica Miller? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Thank you. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Here. Elliott.
Here.
Goodlow. Here. Lilquist.
Here.
David Miller.
Here.
Monica Miller. Here. Wynn.
Here.
So we have one proclamation. Is there someone to read or is it?
It's Brian Elliott, County County Auditor.
Mr. Elliott, you are on.
Okay, sound check. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, I'm happy to be here, proud to be reading the City of Ellensburg Proclamation for Constitution and Citizenship Day 2023. It reads, whereas the Constitution of the United States of America guarantees priceless freedoms to us as citizens and sets forth a concept of liberty and democracy that has been an inspiration to people everywhere. And whereas by joint resolution approved December 8th, 2004, the Congress of the United States has designated the 17th day of September of each year as Constitution and Citizenship Day in commemoration of the signing of the Constitution of the United States on September 17th, 1787, and in recognition of all who, by coming of age or by naturalization, enjoy the privileges and assume the responsibilities of citizenship. And whereas the resolution urges civil and educational authorities to make plans for the observance of Constitution Day and Citizenship Day and for the instruction of citizens in their responsibilities and opportunities as citizens of their communities. And whereas each year thousands of candidates for citizenship commemorate Constitution Day and Citizenship Day by becoming American citizens, taking the oath, I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will well and faithfully discharge my duties and responsibilities as a citizen of the United States. And whereas we welcome all who naturalize into our community to join us in writing the next great chapter of the American story. And whereas a celebration of Constitution Day and Citizenship Day is planned and scheduled on Saturday, September 16th, 2023, and all residents and visitors in Ellensburg are invited to attend. Therefore, the City Council of the City of Ellensburg proclaims September 17th, 2023 as Constitution and Citizenship Day in Ellensburg and encourages all residents to join us in reaffirming our commitment to the foundational principles in our Constitution, signed this 5th day of September, 2023.
Thank you. Is there a motion? Oh, I already signed it. Never mind. But reverting to my old. Brian, in 2 weeks, we will be doing National Voter Proclamation. If you want to come back and join us.
Oh. Hey, that's fantastic. That's near and dear to my heart. So again, to the City Council and to Adam, thanks for having me on. Sorry I couldn't be there in person, but definitely an honor to be able to participate.
Well, thanks for reading. There are no awards or recognitions that can, so the approval of the agenda is before you.
Madam Mayor, I move approval of the agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda is before you.
Madam Mayor, I move consent agenda.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the consent agenda as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
If you
Aye.
vote aye, opposed? Motion carries. There are no petitions, protests, or communications. So we are at citizen comment on non-agended issues. We have a group here from People First, who I met at the Cop on Top event for the Special Olympics. Is it Josh or Justin? Jason, I'm sorry. Would you like to come up and make your presentation?
It's been a while since I've been doing this. Thank you, Madam Mayor, for inviting us tonight. So for those that are not familiar with People First, it's a nonprofit organization of individuals with intellectual and development disabilities. And every year we have a statewide convention. And this year, the 45th annual convention is right here in Rodeo City this weekend. And Madam Mayor, we are inviting you to come this weekend, Saturday morning, to welcome everybody at breakfast to your
I will be
city.
there.
Thank you. And I have some brochures and my self-advocate cards I would like to pass out.
That would be great.
And I also have 3 other members of the organization would like to come up and speak, if that's okay.
That's perfectly fine.
Okay, who's up? Eric?
Thank you, ma'am. My name's Eric Forstrom and I'm the Secretary of People First for Ellensburg.
Hello there. Thank you. My name is Rusty. I'm the Vice President for People First of Ellensburg.
Thank you, Rusty. Thank you, Eric. Thank you.
My name is Dennis. I'm the treasurer of People First for this chapter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I should be more specific.
Yeah. So we welcome your People First the state organization and people from out of town. And I think you were telling me there's going to be 220 folks here. So we hope you have a good meeting, and thank you for inviting me.
If you're not busy, maybe just pop in and introduce yourself and say hi.
Where is it? It's at the CERC on,
Sir.
Starting at what time?
it's 8 a.m., right?
Breakfast, and then it's lunch in the afternoon.
Okay. And it's a 2 or 3 days. So it starts Friday.
Normally, we
So
don't do.
if you could come up, because we are televised and
Normally dinner's on their own on Friday night,
okay.
but they can't afford to eat in this town. So I got the college to serve dinner Friday night, breakfast, lunch, dinner Saturday night, and then a breakfast. And we're also showing Soul Surfer the movie Friday night.
Okay, great. Thank you. We are at item 9, introduction and adoption of ordinances, page 45. This is a second reading of the supplemental budget ordinance.
Good evening, Mayor Lilquist and council. I'm Gloria Lanfear with the city's finance department. The ordinance before you this evening adopts amendments to the 2023-2024 biennial budget to reflect operational requirements and adjustments to capital project plans approved through prior council action, along with other modifications to the biennial budget. Since the prior final biennial budget was adopted, several items have been approved by City Council that require a supplemental budget adjustment in order to be implemented. The anticipated budget impacts are presented as part of the city's standard agenda reports that accompany the initial request. The proposed ordinance will officially authorize expenditures in support of those previously approved projects and program changes. Items that have previously come before council include the approval of the second amendment to the 2023 pay plan for non-represented employees, modifications to collective bargaining agreements for OPEIU and IBEW, and approval for the increased cost of a snow blower. Additional budget adjustments were identified as a result of a review of anticipated expenditures, expenditure trends, and current expenditure authority. These items provide the necessary budget to maintain the programs and projects previously adopted by City Council, comply with external regulations, and update originally budgeted amounts to current forecasts. The items in our arterial street fund included carry forward revenue for projects that were not completed at year end for 2022, and the receipt of approximately 2.3 million in grant revenues for pre-existing projects. Items in our Ellensburg Transit Fund include the $18,000 increase for the 2-year Cabulance contract. Our Stormwater Fund will receive an additional $62,000 from Department of Ecology for the original 2021 through 2023 capacity grant. Our natural gas and light funds are both anticipating higher CCA auction allowance sales and expenses. Gas is forecasting an increase in revenues and expenses by approximately $208,000 for 2023 and $224,000 for 2024. And light is forecasting an increase in expenses by approximately $517,000 for 2023 and $558,000 in 2024, and revenue for sales by approximately $197,000 for 2023. In summary, the proposed ordinance increases budgeted 2023 expenditures by approximately $6.2 million, revenue by $2.7 million, and increases beginning fund balance by $15.1 million. The effect of these amendments on the budgeted 2023 ending fund balance is an increase of $11.7 million. Additionally, the proposed ordinance amends the 2024 biennial budget, increasing budgeted expenditures by approximately $5.4 million, revenue by $2.2 million, and beginning fund balances by $11.7 million. The effect of these amendments on the budgeted 2024 ending fund balance is an increase of $8.4 million. A summary of these adjustments by fund are included in the attached tables 3 and 4. Staff recommends City Council proceed with conducting second reading and adoption of Ordinance 4923. Thank you.
Thank you. Council, do you have any questions for Ms. Lampier?
Just one. So the Cabulance contract, the $18,000 addition. So that's a baseline to have the service available. If the service were used significantly more with the revenue paid out to Hope Source, would that help to draw down the cost of the contract? Or is that even calculated?
At this time, I don't think it is calculated. I think it's an overall contract for that time period.
Okay, thank you.
Anything further? Is there a motion? Oh. Okay. Sorry.
Madam Mayor, I move second reading and adoption of ordinance 4923.
Second.
Okay, on your budget, 2023-24. Something else.
Yeah, I'm just looking, the suggested motion is first reading, but we are at second reading. Second reading. So, okay.
Yeah,
yeah.
sorry.
So the motion is second reading and adoption of ordinance 4923. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
I'll
Or,
call roll
excuse
call.
me, roll
That's okay.
roll call.
I jumped the gun and
And then I-
Beauchamp,
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes.
Goodlow,
Yes.
David Miller,
Aye.
Monica Miller,
Yes.
Wynn,
Yes.
Lilquist.
Yes.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Ellensburg, Washington, amending the 2023-2024 biennial budget for the City of Ellensburg, Washington, as set forth in ordinance 4900 to adjust appropriations in the city's funds.
Okay, we are at item 9B on page 62, amending the pay plan for 2023.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. What I have before you is a resolution amending the pay plan for fiscal year 2023. I did have a errant asterisk, so you may have a replacement document in front of you. I apologize for that. The motion that we will be looking for is to approve resolution to amend the pay plan for fiscal year 2023. Historically, the council has approved resolution 2022-42 and subsequent amendments, and they provide ongoing support of improvements necessary to meet the city's goals and plans for the future. This resolution would provide, address changing departmental needs and make necessary corrections. This has been a year of change. I've been before you a lot with growth and improvement. And as such, we have some additional amendments that are now being presented. So when resolution 2023-16 was prepared for council, it contained an error in the wages for Public Works and Utilities Light Operations Supervisor. The correct wages were previously approved in resolution 2023-12. These corrections are marked in this resolution by bold font, and there is also a slight title modification. There are two additional title modifications. The Public Works and Utility Sustainability Coordinator will be retitled to Sustainability and Energy Coordinator to better capture the scope of duties. And the Applications Analyst position in IT will be retitled to the IT Business Analyst to better match the industry standard for that position. The city has been without a certified arborist since the retirement of Gordon Crane. Josh Matson, Public Works and Utilities Civil Engineer, recently obtained his arborist certification, and a stipend of 5% base wage will be established by the resolution and will be implemented starting with the 9/1/23 to 9/15/23 pay period. The position of Housing and Grants Administrator was included in the 2023-2024 biennial budget. However, it was still conceptual at the time the budget and the 2023 pay plan were adopted and established, and we are now ready to recruit for that position. Community Development Director Dan Carlson requested to implement a promotional position of Building Inspector 2. Our current Building Inspector, Leah Summer, has undergone extensive training, and her increased knowledge will improve services to the community. This position will provide a professional growth opportunity and recognize the work the employee has done to advance her skills. Once a promotion occurs, the Building Inspector 1 position will remain vacant. The financial impact of these changes include the 2 positions in community development and the certified arborist stipend. For the remainder of 2023, the anticipated base wage impact for the creation of Building Inspector 2 is approximately $1,000. The Housing and Grants Administrator position will require some additional funding due to the increased scope of duty since it was initially budgeted. The budget impact will also be dependent on the qualifications of the selected candidate. Using the highest cost scenario, the additional budget required for 2.5 months of 2023 would be approximately $4,000 in base wages. Because this position has been budgeted but unfilled in 2023, the base salary savings is approximately $55,000 from January to mid-October, which is our target hire date. The certified arborist stipend is based on a percentage of the regular monthly salary, so the stipend amount will vary depending on the salary or when the regular salary is updated. Currently, the estimated base wage impact is approximately $2,150 for the remainder of 2023, and all of these impacts will be carried into 2024. With that, staff recommends approval of the resolution as presented, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there questions? Ms. Young? Your motion.
I move resolution 2023-23.
Council, there's also a request to approve the budget adjustments, necessary budget adjustments in the motion.
And approve the necessary budget adjustments.
Second.
Motion and second to adopt resolution 2023-23 and approve the necessary budget adjustments. Is there any discussion? I just want to say I appreciate the city's providing employees the opportunity for growth within the system on this day after Labor Day.
No, thank you. We appreciate your support.
So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I too vote aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
We are at item 11A, the Central Transit Zero Emission Transition Plan.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. My name is Betsy Dunbar. I'm the Transit Manager for the City of Ellensburg, and I'm here this evening to give a brief overview of the Central Transit Zero Emissions Transition Plan. So our agenda consists of the following: project purpose, policy support, fleet modeling results, facility analysis, financial analysis, and next steps. We'll begin with project purpose. So some of the objectives were to explore available zero emissions options, identify feasible technologies that fit Central Transit services, establish funding opportunities, and create a zero emissions transition plan. So methodologies include these four main points: fleet data evaluation, route modeling, policy and legislation impacts, and life cycle costs. Policy support, policy and legislative impacts. So we have a lot of support for doing this work here locally within the city of Ellensburg, and as well as state and federal support. I am a member of the Sustainability and Energy Plan Steering Committee, and along with Buddy Stanovich, we attended many meetings with our consultant, and much of our information hopefully will be included in the sustainability plan. Another part is that our plan includes mapping and analysis of the geographic area, which includes the transportation disadvantaged community. And indicators for that are a lack of access to physical infrastructure and public services, food and education, medical care, commercial and employment accessibility. The Justice 40 data layer is based on indicators of environmental burden defined by the Council on Environmental Quality. And, this is really important to include in our plan so that we can better understand how the benefits of our fleet transition can improve the lives of our community members. Fleet modeling results. So key data was collected. The first being here are weekday and weekend operator blocks, or the schedule, and the bus type assignments are GTFS data, and which is basically our latitude and longitude of our bus stops, and also our ridership data and our operations information, and which we submitted to the consultant, and the fleet replacement plan was submitted by our contractor, Hope Source. Route modeling. So the inputs in the yellow were vehicle details, like the dimensions and the weight of the vehicles. The route details are GTFS information, all of our bus stops. And those went into the energy analysis, which include like the elevation of our city and our routes, acceleration, speed limits, and the consumption of energy, and really our vehicle schedules, which led to these outputs. Energy consumption, well, electric or hydrogen. And it was decided that electric vehicles would be best for the city of Ellensburg and Central Transit. En route charging infrastructure and power and locations, facility charging infrastructure along with power level and location and the number, operational impacts, hours and miles, number of vehicles, vehicle swaps, emissions, all of that gave us what our next steps should be. Our implementation scenarios, our return on investment, our break-even analysis, and our financial planning. So our route modeling results for at the depot only, speaking of the Hope Source location. So as you see here, the green on this graph represents a fully charged bus. And as it goes through the day, you can see it turns from green to yellow to orange to a darker orange, which tells us that the charge is depleting. And once you get to the blue vertical line, that's when that vehicle needs to be swapped out for another vehicle, which, that can be quite costly. If you look at that, you're not just doing that once, but you're doing that twice times 5 routes. And so we move on to the key takeaways. Well, revenue hours and miles remain the same because we control that. But if you look at non-revenue hours and non-revenue miles, we had over a 200% increase. So, and then the vehicle requirement also increased 100%. So if we have 5 buses out on the route, we would need 5 other buses to switch out. And that doesn't even include the two backup buses, which now might need 4 backup buses. So also additional depot chargers would be required. So let's move on. Depot and en route charging options. So we know that the depot only is not a very good fit for us, right? It's very expensive and wastes a lot of driver hours as well, going back and forth. So adding en route charging option is really the best fit for us. So we would have no bus swaps needed, no change to non-revenue operations, and no change to the fleet size. So that's a win-win. Facility analysis. So at the depot, charging, the infrastructure would be level 2 chargers. That's what's recommended for overnight charging. The buses would plug as a 1-to-1 ratio with 1 charger per bus. These pictures are a view of the Hope Source depot. And when our contractor was on site for visits, they met with Hope Source. And at that point, they thought that they would have the chargers on the left picture way over there. But since then, they've decided to purchase this other building. And so having that power source much closer will save them a lot of money. So moving along, the en route inductive charging is, we're really lucky actually at the city to have a central location in the downtown area where all of our buses meet. And so that's a perfect location for en route inductive charging. Here's a great example. So the picture on the left is the undercarriage of the bus, and the other one is the changing pad or the charging pad embedded into the ground. And so the driver aligns. There's a monitor on the bus that tells him right where you are. You've got the sweet spot, and the bus just starts automatically charging. So en route inductive charging, this is a picture of our downtown area. The purple rectangles are simulating our buses and where our charging stations might be. Right here we have 3 on the going north and 1 south, with the cabinet chargers being to the east and a little north in that the tree area there. And so a financial analysis also conducted. And it evaluated life cycle costs, which include so many. We have capital costs for purchasing vehicles, which is our contractor's responsibility, charging equipment, maintenance costs, and utility costs, and as well as our infrastructure costs, which would be the city's responsibility. Comparison costs, costs compared to the existing gas fleet, and then external benefits, noise, and emissions reductions. Our EV fleet transition financials. We have learned that EV buses are a lot more expensive than gas buses. And we know that there will be expensive infrastructure costs. So vehicles will be replaced at a 1-to-1 ratio, meaning that not all of them will be replaced all at once. We know that from the past that right now it's very difficult for us to even get a bus. In 2021, Hope Source was to get 3 hybrid buses. And just this year, they received 1 gas-powered vehicle bus, and they had to rebuild the other 2. So we are hoping that things get better really soon and that we're able to get the buses that we need. Annual vehicle operations and maintenance, infrastructure costs, the full cost, again, are estimations. We do not know. We can't say this is how much it's going to cost because as we have seen in the past couple of years, how things have gone up. Hopefully things will start to go down, but we just don't know. And of course, Hope Source and the city will be leveraging grant awards to offset those costs. This is an annual fleet composition by fuel type. So you see here, 2023 through 2027, we have the gasoline fleet. We will, in 2028, we will begin to transition to the electric buses, and hopefully by 2032, we will be completely operating with battery electric buses. So we know too that the fleet transition will happen in phases, like I said, but usually with each biennium. And so the next biennium coming up will be for 2025-27. And so we have project next steps where we can see that in 2022, complete zero emissions transition plan. Yay, we did that. And then in 2024, we need to start looking and applying for funding, especially for the vehicles and infrastructure. 2025, planning and funding, securing that funding for the infrastructure and vehicles. And also redoing probably our operating agreement with our contractor and clarifying our roles as to between the city and them. Infrastructure and permitting, upgrades and grid connections, all those things. Infrastructure, substantially complete infrastructure upgrades and utility coordination, and then implement the transition. And with that, I appreciate the opportunity, your support as we tackle this important transition ahead. It's going to take all of us, and we believe it'll be a great opportunity and it'll be really great for our community. So with that, if there's any questions, I'd be happy to ask or to answer them if I can. Yes.
How long do the buses need to stop over the chargers?
Just as long as they're there. They don't have to stay there any longer than what they're normally there for. Some routes are different. Each route has a 10 minutes time during that time frame. And then some are there for 5 minutes, some 2, some 7. Just depends on what the schedule says for that route.
Any further questions?
How durable are those? If they're going to be laid in the street with ice melt, snow, rain, everything else on them, how often are we going to have to replace those?
Yeah, we asked that question to our contractor, and they actually brought in a meeting with myself with Grant Transit, who is using that as well with the same style of bus, and they have had no issues. Link Transit is the leading transit agency in the state for inductive charging, and they get more snow than we do, and they've had zero problems.
I just had a quick question.
Sure.
Thank you, Betsy. I just wanted to ask, is the draft that would be submitted to the DOT for review, is that considered a draft at this point, or is this considered final?
We did send them the final report that we received. But in talking with our liaison, if there are any changes that are required after this meeting, we can do so and resubmit it.
Yeah, and I remember reviewing this on PTAC, and what I'd like to see, and it's just my thought, is I think it'd be nice to have a concise set of recommendations. I'd like to see a little bit at the end on the recommendation on the fleet model, the charging model. There seems to be an indication that the depot and the online charging is preferred, but I'm not seeing a clear recommendation that this is the preferred alternative. I think that it was the intent, but right.
So are you referring to the depot charging the one-on-one for their buses?
No, well, the combination of the depot
Uh-huh.
and the en route charging seems to be the preferred.
Yes.
But I'm not seeing a clear conclusion.
Okay.
It's referenced, but it's sort
Yes.
of loosely referenced. I was just thinking that it might make it clear to the DOT reviewers that this is the preferred
Okay.
path.
Yeah.
And it's not a critical thing, but I think it's kind of, we've reached that conclusion, at least at the
Yes.
analysis level. And then the other thing, could you clarify, and I don't want to get too into the weeds on this, but, and you touched on some work that needs to be done to sort of further define the roles between the city and the contractor, Hope Source. My understanding is that Hope Source is responsible for fleet replacement, and the city is responsible for infrastructure.
That's
currently.
correct.
So would the cost that Hope Source would bear be covered in our agreements? Is it a pass-through for the city?
Well, they already, no, it's not a pass-through. They apply for their own operating or capital grants, and they receive them independently of the city.
Okay,
And so that would be the same.
that would include the transition cost.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, I thought that was
Yes.
my understanding.
And they have received their own zero emissions transition plan. And I met with Hope Source a couple of weeks ago and we reviewed that. And it really, both plans mirrored each other very well.
So they would mesh. So
Yeah.
to be clear, the city will not be required to apply for grants for funding our new vehicles.
No.
But we will be responsible for the infrastructure,
That is correct.
and Hope Source will do.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that
Okay.
clarification, David. Is there any further questions? I should call for public comment. Is there anyone who would like to speak about this plan? If there's anyone online, could you raise your hand if you'd like to speak? There's no one there.
I just wanted to say thank you. Sorry for all the questions last minute, but I did want to thank staff and the consultant. PTAC was briefed on this a couple of times through the process, and I think that helped with our understanding. So just wanted to thank you for all your work on this and look forward to the next steps.
Thank you.
I'd like to say, echo David, Councilman Miller's comments, and thank you for all your work. I think this is a really exciting plan, and I'm very glad to see it.
Thank you.
And I'll just say, this is more complicated than just going out and buying an electric vehicle, right?
Yes, it is.
The workforce and training and all that was a surprise to me. So, is there a motion?
Motion to approve. Let me see what the motion is. The zero emission plan.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the Central Transit Zero Emissions Transition Plan. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I too vote aye. Opposed? That motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I believe we are at the manager's report.
Right. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Heidi Barron Sternaway, your city manager. A couple of items that are in the staff report. Request for September 18th study session. As you know, we canceled the study session tonight. We didn't have a couple items ready to go. We have a couple items we'd like to bring to council for your review before you are looking at them at the dais for decision making. And one of those is the draft demolition ordinance. The other one is our flag and banner policy. The idea is, especially with the flag and banner policy, before it gets to a stakeholder group to review the details, that it comes to you in concept, so we can move that forward efficiently. So my request would be for council to take action to create a study session for 6 p.m. on September 18th.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second to set September 18th study session at 6 p.m. Is there any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
To vote aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, thank you. And secondly, we have received an abundance of grants throughout across all of our grant programs. My request would be for council to appoint a subcommittee to review those grants and make a recommendation to the full council for funding. And previously, Councilmember Goodlow, Wynn, and Councilmember David Miller served on the appointment committee or the recommendation committee.
Are there any volunteers? Y'all did a great job last year.
Willing to do it again.
You're
I
willing?
thought we were a great,
Experienced is good.
thought we were a great team.
The band back together, right? Let's do it. Let's do it.
Are you willing, Adam?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so is there a motion to appoint council members Goodlow, David Miller, and Wynn?
So moved.
Motion and second to appoint council members Goodlow, Wynn, and Miller to the council grants review committee. Is there discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 I too vote aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, thank you. Couple more items. One, to let you know that our staff have they continue to do a wonderful job preparing projects for funding and then actually getting that funding. So we're just notified today that the city will be receiving just under $1 million, $956,000 to be exact, for federal highway safety program for University Avenue overlay. So this will happen next year after the Gateway project is done. We'll have a nice overlay from, I believe it's Clay Elm Street out to Reeser Creek Road. So again, great job by our especially our public works staff on putting that project together and getting it ready to go. And finally, just a reminder for our RFP, we actually did an RFP for lobbyist services. There was a council or a budget amendment to fund legislative advocacy. And we did an RFP and received a number of responses to that. And our goal is to put together a legislative agenda this year and try to get that to you earlier. We have some really important things we need to work on. So that agenda will come before council and we'll have the opportunity to have some public comment as well. So there will be an open and open process. And I would guess, finally, I would say, we had no major incident reports from the 100th year rodeo and fairgrounds celebration this last weekend. Lots of wonderful positive comments. And I would say that just about every photo or photo collection I saw had the 100th year rodeo mural that the city sponsored. So lots of celebration around that item as well. So thank you very much for your contribution and support for that item.
David
And
Douglas
myself.
had some good drone footage too. He shared out there.
Thank you. Excellent.
Okay. So we are at council member reports, Councilmember Boshaw.
All of my meetings are coming up this week and next, so, but I just wanted to do hands up to our Ellensburg Downtown Association for the hoedown this year. I don't know if everyone got to go, but I've been here several years and it was probably the best one they've done. They did a fantastic job to kick off the rodeo weekend, and the rodeo again, it was, I think, a huge success. We had a lot of good feedback from the whole weekend, so.
Great.
Yep.
Councilmember Elliott.
So I've been working with the Citizen Advisory Group for KitCom. We're exploring options moving forward to fund some basic infrastructure. And just to kind of bring you up to speed, we've had a couple of meetings. There's a meeting scheduled at the end of September. And we are looking seriously at potentially putting a ballot measure together for the public this spring for some sales tax revenue to fund the 911 infrastructure. And so that's coming. And if you want to participate, you can either give me your input or I can get you the dates for the meetings. Was able to make the backside of the employee appreciation lunch. So that was cool.
Good luck.
Yes, a couple of the meetings that I would have attended, except that I was on vacation, got canceled. So that worked out really nice while I was gone. So I have some upcoming meetings next week. I did want to let council know that we are planning a third World Cafe Belonging in the Berg meeting. CW will be hosting and planning that event, and it'll be on campus. I anticipate it's going to be sometime in early November. And I will be attending a planning meeting for that event on the 19th of September.
Thank you. Councilmember.
No meetings to report, but I also wanted to echo the words. I just saw a lot of really great stuff this weekend. I think Ellensburg did a great job as a community. We had a lot of visitors and positive feedback from everyone I ran into. I think everyone from the Fair and Rodeo organizers to EPD and everyone up to and including the emergency medical evacuations that were needed. I think everyone did their job really well. So well done.
Member Miller.
My meetings are also coming up, but I also attended the hoedown and had a great time. And it occurred to me, I think that's the last event before Unity Park starts to get worked on. So and next year we'll have a new platform to party on. The hoedown. That's right? In October, that's the anticipated.
Depends on if you count Bite of the Berg and a few others this fall.
Are they in Unity Park?
Not necessarily. Buskers in the Berg, possibly.
Okay. Wow. It's coming. And then I attended a walk about, so to speak, through downtown and a little bit for the university with Annette Roth from the State Arts Commission and Kelly Vandenberg as part of a pre-application process to certify Ellensburg as a creative district. That was really interesting. I hope that comes to council in terms of a report or some other means soon.
Great. Councilmember Wynn.
Echoing everybody else, my meetings are coming up within the next week, starting actually tomorrow for our lodging tax. I did want to introduce somebody special to me and who you guys can all blame for the way I am. This is my father that came up from California
Oh,
for a
awesome.
week, and yeah, glad to have him. That's all I've got.
You can be proud.
Some days.
Okay, so I attended the audit entrance exam thing, the Elk Wine Bar grand opening, which I saw
Oh, right, I was at that.
Miller there. The employee appreciation lunch and the big news, I guess, is on the Airport Advisory Committee, we learned last week that the county commissioners have terminated the airport director and the office manager, kept in the 3-person department, kept the maintenance person, and that department is shifting back into the Public Works Department. And today they dissolved the airport department. So it is a cost savings thing. They're looking at a lot of the revenue is down this next year. Anyway, and so we're kind of figuring out what that means, but they're not backing away from their commitment, they say, to economic development at the airport. They're just kind of changing how that works. And I think it'll be through consultants, and some of the big projects that are occurring at the airport are, big public works kinds of projects. They've got some grants to rebuild some runways and things. So it's even under the airport department, I have to say, we weren't making great traction with the business park portion of it. So anyway, we'll see how things go.
CTAC's looking for another one.
It's a long ways from CTAC, but yeah. I also did learn from I guess it was Heidi that on Overdose Awareness Day there was an overdose death in the community. So we're still struggling, and I think that is our 5th this year. So but I do appreciate the organizers of that event, and apologize I couldn't be there. I was judging jokes at the fair, which there were a lot fewer this year, kids that told jokes, but it was still fun. And I can't tell jokes, so I'm not even going to try to repeat the joke. I also attended the parade, or was in the parade with the Downtown Association Director Brenda DeVore in her 1966 Corvette, which was pretty sweet, except that it overheated as we came to second, and so we ditched the parade and came down the alley. I did not finish down. So if you were waiting for us on Pine, I'm sorry we missed you. It does not idle well, she said.
I think it needs an electric battery conversion.
Yeah.
Well, maybe she said it was like it was I think everything was original on that car except like the clutch or something. It's pretty amazing. And I did attend the rodeo yesterday. It was a lot of fun. So thank everyone for a fun and safe weekend. And if there's nothing further, we are adjourned.